Lately, I've become kind of mildly obsessed with the JLC Reverso. I just think it's such a cool, classic, unique watch, and I love that square shape. It's something that I haven't tried very much of, and I really want to get sort of a square, rectangular watch. So I did, and I'm going to be unboxing that one today. I got a cool one from Rotary, and then I'm also going to be unboxing a watch that I have already reviewed. Hi guys, welcome back to Just the Watch. My name's Dave and I live in Japan, and this is a channel all about budget watch collecting. I also have a t-shirt store where you can get this shirt, which has a very useful Japanese phrase on it. I think for a lot of watch guys, Japan is kind of a mecca for watches, especially affordable watches. And if you ever come, yeah, you're gonna need to know a little bit of Japanese. So stick around to the end of this unboxing and I'll teach you a little bit. Now, the RZE Endeavor is one that I got for free from RZE for previously reviewing their watches. However, other than this watch, they didn't give me any compensation, and I didn't even tell them I was going to be doing a follow-up unboxing of the new one. And the main reason I want to do an unboxing of this, even though I've already reviewed it, is because they did a date edition of the watch. So when I reviewed it, they were only planning on doing a no-date version. I much prefer to have a date on all of my watches, so I was really happy when they released one with a date, and then they offered to send that one over to me. So this is a slightly different version than the one that I reviewed before. Anyways, let's open it up and take a look. Okay, today we have a double unboxing of two watches that probably could not be more different. So I don't know if you guys are going to be skipping around to go to the watch you want or if you'll sit around for both, but let's start with this one. This is a watch that you guys have seen on the channel before, but not quite this version of it. I reviewed the prototype of the RZE Endeavor when it was on Kickstarter. They promised to send me a watch when the Kickstarter was successfully funded, if it was successfully funded, and it was. They were good to their word, and this is what they sent me. This is slightly different than the one I reviewed. So one of the complaints I had is that they did not offer a date version, but check this out. That's right, they did a date version of the Endeavor. So really cool to see that. This is interesting packaging for a dive watch, or any watch that comes on a bracelet. So it comes, locked in this flat case. This is, it's okay. You're gonna have to size the bracelet anyways. So a lot of times it's a little bit easier to take it apart and size it like this. So that part's not a problem. The only challenge is that once the bracelet is sized and this is now in a loop, you can't really put it back in like this unless you completely disassemble it and undo the spring bars. So interesting case design. I'm not sure if this is just them kind of reusing the same case from their field watch that had a leather strap. Not sure what I feel about that. They're giving you a very tiny screwdriver, which is very high quality full metal screwdriver, RZE branding. So I'm assuming that these have screw links. This is a titanium watch for those of you guys who did not see the full review of this one already, with a full titanium bracelet, cleaning cloth, and some stickers in there. Cool little pouch, so we'll use this for sizing it. And titanium watches are freakishly light. It always surprises me when I pick one of these up. I went with the medallion yellow. I reviewed that one, really fell in love with the colorway. Just, I think, a great kind of contrast between the sort of dull gray titanium color. This has a proprietary coating on the titanium as well. Let me get this packaging off before we continue. Okay, so here is the RZE Endeavor. So this is the medallion yellow. I feel like the yellow is a little bit different shade than when I reviewed it. Looks like it's got a little bit more of a golden color to it. Maybe a little bit more orange in dial than before. And you can see they've gone with a color match date wheel. So the date wheel matches perfectly. That's like exactly the same shade. And then they've got it highlighted or outlined in a kind of dark metal frame. Nicely integrated. I think this is, this is really cool that they've gone with the color match date wheel, but I feel like at the 3 o'clock where it's taking the place of a marker, a lot of times I prefer to have the white date wheel just to make it stand out in contrast so it can fill that place as an hour marker as well as a date. All right, let's get the dimensions and specifications out of the way. So I think they list this as a 40 millimeter. It's a little bit, got an interesting case shape with some kind of protrusions and bulges on there, so it's a little bit hard to get a good measurement. At the widest point, including the crown, you're up to about 42.5. But if you measure at the bezel, you're actually under 40 at about 39.5. Thickness is right about 12 millimeters, which is, I think, good thickness for a 200 meter dive watch with a Seiko H35 inside. And you are getting 20 millimeter lugs. So if you do want to change this out to a strap, you've got a lot of different options there. But you know, titanium bracelet is, you know, one of the main selling points of this particular one. So I would probably wind up leaving it on that because titanium bracelet's pretty cool. Lug to lug of 46. Does have female end links. So it's going to be a true 46 millimeter lug to lug. So it looks like the clasp is stainless steel, rest of the watch and bracelet is titanium. Okay, so step one, assemble the bracelet so that we can see how many links we're going to have to remove. A lot of space there. I'm going to guess 3 links, maybe even 4. Again, I have a 7.5 inch wrist, so this should accommodate almost any wrist size. All right, so this screwdriver is great. It fits perfectly in there. I'm probably going to be hanging on to this for sizing other bracelets as well because it's hard to find a good screwdriver, and this is a very well made one, so that's a nice little bonus that they included that. All right, so I actually wound up having to remove 4 links, so a lot of space on this. Yeah, I'm not going to go into too much more because I have a full review of this already. Mostly wanted to show the packaging and that new date option. So really cool to see a date option. I'll see how I kind of warm up to this sort of yellow date with that black frame around it. It's kind of unique. But if you're interested in this watch, check out the full version of the review, which I'll link up above and down below. All right, next up we've got the Rotary. Now, I've kind of, I think, sort of fallen in love with the JLC Reverso, which is a watch I will never be able to afford, but I've been looking for an affordable alternative, and there aren't many. And in fact, this one's more than I wanted to pay, but it's a pretty close, I think, look, pretty close match to the look of the JLC Reverso. I think they definitely took a lot of inspiration from that when they put this watch together, particularly on the dial design and the dimensions. Which let's start with that. I mean, first, right off the bat, this is a quartz watch. Yeah, look at the yeah, very much I think Reverso inspired. It does not have the reverse function where it flips over like a Reverso. Rotary actually makes one that does. It's a quartz version that does have 2 faces. It does rotate and flip over. So yeah, let's get the dimensions out of the way. Rectangle and square watches wear very differently than round watches. So this might sound shocking, but it is about 28.5 millimeters wide and about 41 millimeters lug to lug. This being a quartz dress watch, they managed to get it down to 7 millimeters thin, which is nice to see. 20 millimeter lugs, so a lot of strap options. Another thing I liked about this one, yeah, square watches with 20 millimeter lugs are a little bit rare actually. So it has 50 meters of water resistance and a sapphire crystal. I believe it's a Miyota quartz movement inside, so Japanese movement. The strap is crocodile embossed, so it's calf leather or genuine leather. Anyways, cow leather. It's been embossed to look like crocodile leather. Okay, so they have this one listed at 330 yen, which is around $300. I didn't pay that much for it, but that must be, you know, retail price must be closer to $300. But Rotary is a very interesting brand. They don't talk about them much in the United States, you know, and they have them here in Japan, but it's mostly well known as a British brand. So I believe they're one of the most well-known watchmakers that is based in England. So I don't have a ton of experience with them. You know, I think a lot of people may classify them more as like a fashion watch brand. But, you know, looking through their catalog, a lot of their designs have a lot of vintage inspiration. And they do very classy looking watches, very classic looking watches with a lot of vintage influence. And I like a lot of their designs. And this one, I think, looks great. So the dial, very much Reverso's like dial, square dial, blue numerals that are applied, kind of Art Deco look, I think. You know, a lot of that sort of 1920s influence. Blue hands as well. Very tiny date at 6 o'clock. But the case actually, I think, reminds me a lot more of like a Cartier tank, especially the lugs there, the rounded lugs going up. Very different lugs than on the Reverso. So it's kind of a mashup, I think, of 2 of the most famous luxury square watches. And it looks really good. Crown is recessed and tucked away inside there. It's kind of an onion style crown, but very small. pops out. Yeah, not too bad getting a hold of it for setting the time. But this being a dress watch and a quartz watch, you know, you're not going to need to wind it. So you just kind of set it once and then you're going to be good to go for a while. But the wearability on the wrist, now that's going to be the tricky part. And that's something I've been really curious about, is how a square watch wears on my wrist. You know, I've seen lots of pictures of them and I love the look of it. How it's going to wear on mine, I'm still, going to have to wait and see. So yeah, it's a very small watch, judging by the dimensions, but I think it has a pretty good amount of wrist presence. It's very flat feeling, and my wrist, you know, is maybe not that flat on the top. So it sits maybe a little bit awkwardly because it is, like a little piece of flat chocolate almost. It's got a little bit of a weird angle that it kind of tends to rest on my wrist. So I'll see how I like it. I really like the way it looks. But that square case, that rectangle, just the way that it sits on my wrist is the part I'm not sure about. I've got a couple of other straps I want to try it out on as well. But we'll see. See how I like it. I think this is probably about as close to a Reverso as I'm going to get. But this would give me maybe an idea of how I would like the real thing if I was ever going to get up there somehow. So this one I will be following up with a full review after I've tried it for a while, and I'll let you guys know what I think about it. Another interesting thing to note, there is no second hand on here, so if you hate quartz, it's not going to be screaming quartz at you. Great thing I think on kind of a dress watch like this, so I don't mind that at all. Okay, that's going to wrap up these unboxings for today. Thank you guys for watching. Let me know what you think of the watches that we checked out. And particularly those of you guys who are familiar with Rotary, tell me about them down below in the comments. It'll help me as I prepare for the full review to get a better idea of the brand, because again, it's one that I'm not that familiar with. Okay, thanks for sitting through the unboxings. I am going to do a full follow-up review of the Rotary. I'll let you know if I think it's worth it at that kind of high price point for a quartz watch. I will not be doing a follow-up review of the RZE because I've already reviewed that watch. So you can check out the full review. It's already published. I'll leave a link to that down below as well. But let's teach you a little bit of Japanese. Now, like I mentioned, I do live in Japan. I do speak Japanese. I'm still learning, as kind of always, but I can generally get by in everyday conversation and normal life. So if you ever come to Japan and you're interested in watches, which you are because you're watching this channel, probably the first thing you're going to want to know is where the closest watch shop is. So that's what this t-shirt is for. I'm going to teach you how to say, where's the closest watch shop? If you can't remember it, just buy the t-shirt, walk up to someone here in Japan, point to it, and hopefully they'll be friendly enough to take you and lead you to where you want to go. But if you want to ask verbally, here's how you do it. Just walk up to someone and say, "Chikaku no tokei ni tsurete ite kudasai." I'll slow down just a little bit. "Chikaku no tokei ni tsurete ite kudasai." Again, if you can't remember that, head over to the t-shirt shop. You can pick up this t-shirt. And if you ever do make it over here and you happen to make it all the way up to rural Iwate Prefecture where I live, hit me up. It'd be fun to see you. But nobody ever comes to Iwate, so probably won't. Anyways, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye.